You learn you only have a few months to live. Unshaken, you draw up a bucket list, go on a few adventures with your buddies before settling down at home, surrounded by your loved ones, savoring your final few moments nestled in their arms, listening to them talking about how awesome you are and how big of an impact you've made on them. And in your final breath, you slowly fade away, their voices still echoing in your disappearing consciousness. We will never forget you. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Let's be real though. This is how it would actually go down. You'd spend most of your time in misery, too depressed to do anything but mope around, wasting the last few precious moments of your life reflecting on all your regrets and beating yourself up for wasting most of your life doing absolutely nothing meaningful. That is, unless someone were to give you the magical cure for sadness. Yes sirree folks, we are on the cusp of a revolutionary new treatment for depression, and it is indeed life-changing. Today, I walk you through the true story of a doctor diagnosed with cancer who was sent spiraling down into a vortex of depression. Realizing time is running out, he enrolls in a clinical study studying the effects of a mysterious illegal drug. With just one dose, the man's sadness and fear completely evaporate into thin air. If you like hearing about interesting medical stories, then please subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'm a board-certified doctor and hope to bring you interesting cases to make you squirm, jump, laugh, and cry. Dr. Bansal, a loving father to 2 adult children and a devoted husband for almost 40 years, is a gastroenterologist practicing in New York. He is just a few years away from retirement, looking forward to simply unwinding and enjoying the fruits of his labors. But unfortunately, time waits for no one. It's September 2019. Dr. Bansal notices a few drops of blood in his urine. And so, being the good doctor he is, he did what most doctors would do in this situation. He ignores it. But the few specks soon turn into a frank bloody stream, and in 2 months he is diagnosed with kidney cancer. Fortunately, he undergoes a successful operation, removing his right kidney and its surrounding lymph nodes. He still has his left kidney after all. Even more fortunate, the cancer was only stage 1. He carries on with his life until just 9 months later when the entire sky finally does come crashing down. He's back at the doctor's office for a routine follow-up scan. The cancer is in his lungs now, and in a few more months, it's in his bladder too. Bansal's worst nightmare has come true. His diagnosis is revised immediately to stage 4, metastatic. According to the American Cancer Society, this designation gives you an 8% 5-year survival rate. Given how far his cancer has already spread, his actual time was likely even shorter. Another surgery is performed. A large part of his lung is removed. To tackle the cancer in his bladder is purposefully infected with bacteria closely related to tuberculosis. To accomplish this, a flexible tube is inserted into the opening of his penis and pushed into the bladder. There, the organ is filled with a liquid swimming with these germs. Naturally, an active infection will bring your immune system to the battlefield in full force, and if they just so happen to run into a cancerous cell, they'll destroy it all the same. As a result of this induced infection, Bansal develops a low-grade fever, diffuse muscle and joint aches, and has the unfortunate urge to pee every 10 minutes. Except when he does, it burns like razor blades. Bansal's body is an active battlefield, ravaged by both the mutated cells and the many attempts to treat it. Though pain and misery fill every waking hour, what brings about the most amount of suffering is the darkness infecting every thought he has. He did everything he was supposed to in life. He was a good person. Why was he being punished? Will he even be there to witness the birth of his grandchild? And if so, would he have the strength to hold him? What's the point? I'll be long gone by the time he actually grows up, Bansal laments. He won't even remember me. The thought continues to the logical conclusion. Given enough time, no one will remember me. I'm just a speck of insignificant dust. The world and everyone in it will move on. What was the point of all this? Why was I put here if only to suffer? We all know that in the moment of death, we are alone, but why does the process of dying have to be so lonely too? Soon, the anxious dread is overwhelming. In this dark place, panic attacks afflict him randomly throughout the day. The therapist he sees regularly, his usual meds, they are all just like little buckets of water against a raging forest fire. Ultimately, his mind always falls back into the same pattern. because the indisputable fact was that he was going to die, and there was simply nothing he could do about it. In the end, it wasn't even the cancer that tormented him. It was the self-flagellation, the never-ending loop of being unable to stop thinking about how he couldn't stop thinking about it. Is this really how he was going to waste the last few moments of his life, wallowing in self-pity, trapped in the misery of his mind? Resolved to find a way out, he reaches out to the lead researcher testing a novel medication for depression in cancer patients. After weeks of screening, he is finally accepted and travels to the Bill Richards Center for Healing at the Aquilino Cancer Center in Rockville, Maryland. To be eligible for the strict scientifically controlled study, Banzel has to meet several requirements. Number 1, you need a cancer diagnosis and a measurable level of depression. 2, one has to be physically fit enough to handle the medication. And 3, psychologically free from any personal or family history of other mental illness. Finally, one has to be weaned from any other medication used to treat depression or anxiety. It was apparent that this drug was like no other. Just like how an astronaut undergoes extensive training and preparation before launch, Banzel undergoes the same. Several times a day, Banzel meets with various therapists in 4-hour-long sessions. One particular psychiatrist, one with a military background and over 30 years of experience, is slated to be Banzel's personal guide during the actual grueling treatment session. Trust and let go. That was what he and the rest of the doctors at the center all repeated. Could Banzel truly trust them with his most precious asset, his mind? What was this drug going to do to him really? Could sadness really be cured? Hello everyone. Hope you're liking the story so far. Just wanted to interrupt and bring you a word from one of our sponsors. Yep, still just me, so please do me a favor. If you like the story, then please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell. Okay, now back to the story. Finally, Banzel is ready. On the day of, he enters the treatment room, which is decorated not like a sterile hospital room, but more akin to that of a cozy home study. The doctors want their patients to feel at ease, feeling safe and comfortable to fully embrace what is about to happen, because there are the unfortunate and rare cases where patients will lose track of reality completely and become trapped in a state of paranoia and put themselves and others in serious danger. The drug is brought into the room in an intricately carved crucible, in a ceremonial cup of water too. 25 milligrams is carefully calibrated and measured just for Banzel. In any other setting, the swallowing of these 5 pills would land him in federal prison. Quietly, Banzel takes the pills and swallows them. He puts on special eye shades, headphones, and lies down. A carefully curated playlist of classical music mixed with modern electronica gently leaks into his mind. The therapist by his side gently reminds him to let go. In 45 minutes, the effects of the medication begin to kick in. 3 hours in, Banzel is struck with an immense feeling of peace, happiness, and comfort, and finds himself in a place he never knew existed. Spectacular multiverses swirl around him like the reflected lights of a disco ball. He enters into one of these panels and finds himself in front of a massive stage floating in the sky. There, a never-ending orchestra stretching to the horizon is playing the classical music coming from his headphones. A huge machine suddenly emerges from the sky, and Banzel sees himself being crushed by it. He sees his body buried, dead in the earth's ground. The cycle of death, burial, and rebirth occurs several times before he escapes, now gliding over the tops of New York City. He is amazed at the grid of skyscrapers below him, but above him is even more spectacular. Above him is the entire universe stretched before his eyes. The expanse of this panoramic view is virtually limitless. In this expanse, a prehistoric reptile creature spanning the length of several galaxies is dying. My God, the universe is dying, Banzel concludes out loud. A few moments later, a burst of stars explode and the universe comes to life once again. Banzel falls into yet another multiverse. There, a giant Ferris wheel filled with giant crabs clicking and clacking their pincers is barreling towards him. Gripping his therapist's hand, Banzel is terrified. My cancer is coming at me. His therapist encourages him to stand firm and to walk towards it. And so, Banzel does just that. And just like that, it blows off into a plume of smoke. Despite the spectacular nature of all of this, he is keenly aware his body is still physically present in the cozy room, because these are not just hallucinations. What Banzel is experiencing feels so real and powerful that he cannot but believe that they are in some way part of his actual reality. After about 8 hours, Banzel is drained, feeling as if he has been run over by a truck. He finally removes his eye shades and headphones. He doesn't know it yet, but the searing emotional experience has changed his life forever. In the next few weeks, Banzel journals obsessively. It seems that as time is passing on, I'm becoming more relaxed and hopeful, more calm, more at peace. Family's become even more important to me now. Money, politics, material gains, alcohol, they all seem less important. I feel I need to be more compassionate and considerate, less irritable and angry, more understanding of others. I feel I need to be a better human being, a better patient, a better father, and a better doctor for my patients. It was as if Banzel had stumbled upon some powerful truth hiding in the fabric of the universe, hiding in plain sight. I died and I was reborn. If I survive this, then I can face anything and anybody in the cosmic scheme. I can become part of it. Months after taking just one dose, Banzel still calls it the single most powerful experience of his life. Though he still is in excruciating physical pain when he pees and understands that he will likely still die soon, his perspective has completely shifted. Everything was actually okay, and it was always going to be okay. Pain was just pain. Banzel had been introduced to psilocybin, more commonly known as magic mushrooms. This naturally occurring psychedelic drug is not some recent discovery. The Aztecs had a more fitting name for it: God's flesh. It goes back even further though, and has been depicted in Stone Age rock art, but that's not surprising. I'd also eat anything growing around my cave if I was a starving Stone Age dudester. More recently, this drug is only now starting to make a comeback in scientific circles. After being banned in the 60s in the fight against hippie counterculture and other psychedelics, it was illegal to even conduct scientific research on the substance. Those courageous enough to try committed career suicide, and thus, for 60 years, progress in this field has completely stagnated. It is unfortunate because imagine where we'd be today in the fight against depression. In a previous video, we talked about why most antidepressant pills don't address the root cause for illness, and why a true cure will likely have to address how the brain itself is structured. Research indicates that psilocybin may do exactly that, and is probably why patients like Banzel have such dramatic improvements. Imagine your brain is like a tangled mess of wires all knotted up. Psilocybin comes in and untangles that mess, allowing the opportunity for new connections to be made. Years of brain knots that would have taken extensive psychotherapy to disentangle, if even possible, is interrupted in an instant. And from this clear space, a new you is born. The fantastic scenes Banzel experienced is likely the result of that active reorganization taking place in real time. Without the existing rigid networks of the brain filtering and packaging the world to fit inside the traditional box he is used to, the real world finally bleeds through, its colors streaming outside the neat little lines he's constructed over a lifetime. Because when old rigid thought patterns do not exist anymore, what new perspectives may you discover? We all have mental heuristics, shortcuts, and patterns of thought that we use to navigate the world. Reflexive viewpoints and conclusions, biases, unconscious assumptions we are not even aware of. We build this from the lived experiences and stories we tell ourselves, but they are just that, stories, or even more fundamentally, illusions of the mind. Life may not be that hopeless. You are not the failure you think you are. The universe is not what you think it is. There's always a way forward. Your rigid brain just hasn't allowed you to see it. Even with terminal cancer and just a few months to live, there's still an astounding amount of beauty and happiness to be found. All simply waiting for you to notice. And with the rewired brain, you are finally freed to see it. Banzel summarizes it nicely in his journal. How many sorrows in the universe? My cancer is nothing. Life does not end with the end of life. What was will be again, eternally. And I'll leave it at that, folks. As always, I humbly ask you that if you enjoyed this, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Studies show that hitting the subscribe button makes you 2 times more likely to find joy. Okay, my friends, until next time, stay humble, stay healthy, stay fresh. Peace.